Now let's take a look at the fascinating developments around drone technology. We're witnessing a fundamental shift in American air power. For years, the Americans have relied on drones like this, the MQ-9 Reaper, a $30 million precision instrument. But look at this. Does it look familiar? When I first saw it, I thought, aha, it's a Shahed. It's not. It's a Lucas drone. Lucas stands for Low Cost, Uncrewed Combat Attack System. It looks familiar because it's a near exact replica of the Iranian Shahed-136, something that Iran has supplied to Russia and has been used to devastating effect in its attacks on Ukraine. But the Iranians have re-engineered it, as we've seen with some of the attacks that have occurred on the British sovereign base area in Cyprus and attacks coming in the Middle East with Russian electronics or Russian procured electronics and other systems on board. The US military didn't just study captured Shaheds from Ukraine, they reverse engineered them. Here's where we can see the US Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, looking at the Lucas in a display of military capability. But how did they get that re-engineering? Well, they had to strip them down and get their circuit boards. But to do that, they had to shoot them down, first of all. And it's drones like this Ukrainian anti-drone drone that has managed to shoot some of the Shaheds down. And we've seen the Shaheds, as they hit the field, the components are taken away and examined in detail to allow the reverse engineering by the Americans in this case. Reverse engineering on the battlefield is something that always happens. And it's he who can reverse engineer and develop new technology quickest is the one that often wins. Reports suggest that 60,000 Shahed drones have been launched into Ukraine over the 4 years. And with the Lucas at just $35,000 a pop, we've seen the move from the exquisite technology to affordable mass. While a single Reaper is too precious to lose, the Lucas is designed to be expendable. The US can buy nearly 1,000 Lucas drones for the price of one Reaper. In a war of attrition, quantity has a quality all of its own. And while it looks like a Shahed, it is vastly superior. It has a mesh network allowing swarming. Effectively, they talk to each other, and anti-jamming GNSS making it much harder to stop than the original Iranian version. These were just used for the first time in combat during Operation Epic Fury against Iranian targets, a huge psychological blow to the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps. Ironically, the Iranians spent decades perfecting a poor man's cruise missile to bypass US defences, only for the US to steal the blueprints and mass produce a much better version in months. The Pentagon's precision missile stocks, like Tomahawks, can run low in days. Lucas solves the ammo maths by providing a deep magazine of long-range strike options that don't break the bank. It's the US flipping the script, launching swarms of Iranian-designed, American-made retribution back at the very people who pioneered the tactic. Of course, when we get the exquisite drones, like the MQ-9 Reaper, and I've tasked earlier versions of the Reaper on operations, there's an even bigger daddy, an even more exquisite drone, which is the RQ-4 Global Hawk. And on operations in the Balkans, as a NATO officer, I was one of the first privileged to put one of the first taskings into the Global Hawk when it was flown in an operational scenario for the first time. It is a phenomenal beast that can stay in the air for much longer than a day. And it is primarily an intelligence gathering platform, flying very high, flying very long, loitering, just watching, listening, gathering everything it can and providing a unique intelligence insight to what is going on in the ground. And of course, there's so many different drones and unmanned aerial vehicles flying around the battlefield now. We get loitering munitions. The Russians have got the lancet loitering munition, which is like a mini drone. It fires up into the air. It will fly around in circles until it is either directed on a target or it identifies a target with the sensors that are on board and then dives into that target. The Shahed drones are not designed to loiter, but you could program into them that they go in a circle around somewhere before diving into the target. But they're slow, they're easy to shoot down, and that would just make them much more vulnerable. The MQ-9 and the RQ-4, the Global Hawk, are designed to loiter. They're designed to spend long times observing targets, and the Reaper also carries missiles on board and can attack targets. The Global Hawk tends to be used purely for intelligence purposes and can loiter for more than 24 hours, in fact, days on end, at a height that is very difficult for it to be spotted and shot down. The Americans have lost a few in the past, but it's difficult, not impossible to shoot them down. So let's turn our attention to Ukraine. On the ground, the reality for Russian logistics is bleak. In the north, the Kremlin is trying to carve out a buffer zone in Sumy, but the state of their forces is staggering. Reports confirm a chilling purge of the sick and wounded and the elderly from the 22nd Motorised Regiment. These men were dumped into a frontline reconnaissance unit with just 1 week of training. Even worse, they're off the books. No pay for the soldiers and no compensation for their families when they're killed. In the east, the war of attrition continues. Despite relentless assaults near Kupiansk and Borova, Putin's forces have made zero significant gains. Ukrainian counterattacks have stalled them cold, with the only minor Russian tactical advance recorded near Kostantinivka. But Ukraine isn't just defending. They're systematically dismantling Russia's rear. In Belgorod, they have struck drone control points, neutralizing the pilots before they even reach the front. Deeper still, the damage is catastrophic. On the 1st of March, a massive strike in occupied Yalta, 100 kilometers behind the lines, wiped out a valuable S-300 air defense system and its radar. From oil depots in Makiivka to fuel hubs in Zaporizhia, Ukraine is starving the Russian machine of fuel and ammunition, the ammunition it needs to survive. Open source trackers like the Blackbird Group reported Russia lost 37 square kilometers of territory that they had captured in February, with Ukraine advancing a total of 192 square kilometers near Hulyapol in the Zaporizhia Oblast, and more in neighboring areas. Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian forces, Oleksandr Syrsky, confirmed the troops recaptured more land than Russia had seized, citing 92,850 Russian casualties over the winter at over 1,000 dead and wounded per day.